Hello, awesome people. Welcome to VP's Wealth Radio Show. This is Vijay Prakash, author of Amazon number one best-selling book, Slumdog Investor. So, today being Tuesday, it's our ritual to cover author's ritual, right? So, today I am going to teach you something very interesting, which I have followed for my book as well, which is called Hero's Journey. So, let's get started. So, any good story or any good movie, any good book, especially when it is more of a fiction and fiction story, this is going to follow this model. And the reason a movie is not able to tell a story, or it becomes a flop, or if there is a book which becomes boring, the chances are that they are not following this model. And this is very, very interesting model. And especially if you are thinking of writing a fiction or writing a story, you can just pick up this model, take a look at it, and you can actually use this model to kind of weigh your book, that whether your book is following this model or not. And this model is called Hero's Journey, right? So any good movie you see, the stage one is when there is some problem existing, but hero is kind of in a stage of unawareness. He has a very limited awareness about the problem, and he's an ordinary man, lives in an ordinary world, right? And then what happens is, around him, the problem aggravates. It could be anything, right? It could be you can just pick up any movie and just try to recall what problem was there, which he was ignoring initially. So there is a little bit of an increase of awareness of the problem, but it could be a villain who is troubling in the surrounding area, but being a nice person, he's kind of ignoring him. you know so there is an increased awareness, and then a time comes when there is a call to adventure, right? But hero is still in his limited threshold, and he is just refusing to the call. The third stage is, again, he's in a state of ignorance, and he's a refusal to the call, right? Then next stage is called as a meeting the mentor, and this is where it is called as the overcoming reluctance. So I mean, this is a situation, either it could be an event, or either it could be a mentor, who forces him to kind of change, right? So till this point, he's a very, very ordinary person, and he is just not ready to overcome, right? And that event, that situation, forces him to finally overcome the reluctance. And this is where he crosses the first threshold, and he is committed to change, right? It could be, this villain was actually troubling people outside his family, but now this villain is troubling people inside his family. And this is where first time this guy encounters the villain, and he gets a royally beaten, right? So this is where he is crossing the first threshold, and committed to change. Now next stage is like experimenting with the change, right? So then definitely when it comes, this is the time when he will be put through the different tests. He will have, either he will build allies, or he will create more enemies, right? So this is more like a very, very conflicting situation. The hero is going through a lot of conflicting situation, and he's experimenting. And this is the time he's also in a kind of a stage that it looks like that he will give up, right? So if you're writing a story, just take a look, and whatever 6 steps I have covered so far, weigh your story, whether your story is in line with this 6 step or not, right? Then next step is like it's more like a preparing to change, right? Preparing to change, and then confronting that change, because this is the stage where, I mean, nothing is permanent as such. because this is a completely new world for him, right? And this is where there are consequences of changing that attempt. So this is a phase where you see that the hero is royally beaten, maybe because there are consequences. So maybe you would have seen stories of the fight, right? So what happens, this hero is not that strong, so first time he goes and fights with the villain, uh, and then second time he goes fights with the villain, right? So this is a state of change where the preparation is going on, right? So then the phase, after this 9 stitches, the phase is, this is where uh, the lasting effect of change is what is taking place, and which is the stage of the road back, kind of going back to the same situation and fighting back with the more preparation. This is a stage of resurrection, and it's a more like a last attempt. It's a life and death situation. Consequences of attempting change is more like a life and death situation. And then finally the final call, right? The last attempt to change. It's like either do or die kind of a situation. And then the final mastery of the problem, right? It is more like a returning with the elixir, or kind of killing the villain, right? So you can see that the story flows in a 12 step, ordinary world, call to adventure, refusal to call, meeting the mentor, crossing the first threshold, test allies enemies, approach in most cave, ordeal, reward, the road back, resurrection, and finally it's more like a mastery in the problem, right? Same thing, same model we are going to take a look in the Cinderella story. So if you take a look at the Cinderella story, what is happening? The ordinary world, right? The Cinderella's family dynamics, right? Then there's a call to adventure, that there was a ball in the palace, right? Then the refusal of the call is Cinderella cannot go. Then meeting the mentor is like meeting the fairy godmother, is meeting a mentor. Crossing the threshold is like Cinderella will go to the ball, she will go to the party, right? Test allies and enemies, that the pumpkin carriage, the dress, the glass supplies, right? Then what is the approach? Cinderella, I mean, the threshold break is more like a Cinderella dances with prince, right? And then she falls in love, and the prince has also fallen in love, is more like a reward. This is after crossing half of it, right? And then again back to the same situation, midnight, and then back to the old life, right? And then finally resurrection is, the finally the glass shoe fits, when prince sends his uh, soldiers to check the size of the shoes, right? And then finally prince marries the princess, right? So I hope this particular slide would have given you a more clarity in terms of how to tell a story. Okay, so this is a model which is available in Wikipedia also. If you are somebody who is working on your fiction story, you can take a look at this model, and I am sure that this model will help you. You can weigh your content based on this model, and this will definitely help you create a better story, because it did. If you see the story of a slumdog investor, remember that when you're writing the book, your first line has to be gripping. Okay, so if you have not checked first line of my book, go check on Amazon. It is a gripping first line. And I have followed this particular model, because I have also written a fiction story. But it's not only a story, there is also a learning built into it, so there is a little bit of a modification there. But pretty much what I have tried is, I have tried to follow this model. So follow this, and I'm sure you will be able to create another bestseller. Okay, so thank you so much. If you like this video, like, comment, and share. And if you have not already subscribed to my channel, what I would request is subscribe to my channel, press the bell icon, so that you get my new updates every single day. So thank you so much. This is all I wanted to talk. I will again talk to you tomorrow with a new video. Thank you so much.